Good to go, Dave? Yep, perfect. Okay. Morning, everyone. I'll open the meeting with karakia. Whakatakatahau ki te uru, whakatakatahau ki te tonga, kia mākina kina ki uta, kia mātaratara ki tai, I ake ana te arakura, he tio, he hoku, he hauhu, tihei mauriora. Welcome, everyone, to our March Greater Christchurch Partnership Committee meeting. We are quorate. We're well quorate. So I'm pleased to declare the meeting open. We've got apologies for absence from Dr. Smarty Toe, Dr. Anna Stevenson, Tanya Wati, Councillor Tyler Harrison-Hunt. I think that's the full... Oh, yeah, I've said Anna. And that's the full range. So, do I have a mover and a seconder for those apologies? Lydia and... Oh, Phil. Sorry, Victoria. I heard you, but saw Phil. All those in favour say aye. Against? Carried. Any declarations of interest to add to today? Nope. No deputations by appointment. Minutes of the previous meeting are on page 9. Any matters of accuracy relating to the minutes for the meeting of Friday the 5th of December? If anyone can remember back that far, I can't. Nope. Right. Okay. So, motion is that the Greater Christchurch Partnership confirms the minutes of the Greater Christchurch Partnership Committee held on the Friday the 5th of December. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Sophie. Gail. Right. All those in favour say aye. Against? Carried. On to page 15 of the agenda. Greater Christchurch Public Transport Improvement Program Update. Wonderful. Okay, so we've got Sonia Pollard and Stuart Gibbon from Canterbury Regional Council and Ben Rhodes and Jane. No, not Jane, just Ben Rhodes. Just Ben Rhodes from Christchurch City Council will talk to the report. Welcome, everyone. While we get the tech working.
Okay, good morning. Sorry, we're just waiting for the presentation to come up. It should come up shortly, but we'll crack into it. Slight technical.
I'll try one more time to see if we can't get the
Thank
presentation up.
Oh, it's still loading. It's going to take. Okay, right. We'll just crack into it, and then when the presentation comes up, we'll move forward.
Good luck.
Thank you. So today we're just going to provide the committee with an update on the delivery of the Greater Christchurch PT Improvement Programme. So this includes an update on the delivery of the PT Futures Investment Programme and the MRT Route Protection Project being led by Christchurch City Council. In terms of an overview, we're just going to cover at high level the changes that we've seen in the strategic environment since we approved the PT Futures Combined Business Case in 2020. Quick overview of the PT Improvement Programme, an update on the current work programme and some key messages and next steps. And happy to take any questions either throughout or we can wait till the end. In terms of the strategic context nationally, we've seen substantive changes since we agreed PT Futures in 2020. We've now got some ministerial expectations, which essentially means that we need to work towards increasing the private revenue share. So that's looking at increasing the amount of revenue we take through fares or third-party revenue streams such as advertising. There's also an expectation that we review routes with a low fare box recovery, and you'll see up there the delivery of the national ticketing solution. We remain working in a constrained funding environment, and all investments need a robust, evidence-based business case to support investment decisions. The focus remains on driving patronage and modal shift, so servicing the greatest number of people through the PT Futures Improvement Programme. In terms of the regional strategic context, over the past 2 years, we've developed 3 really key strategic documents. These really strengthen the need for public transport investment, and now kind of more than ever. The Regional Public Transport Plan was approved in July 2025, and that sets really the vision, the priorities, the policies and the actions. And that's all supporting delivery of the Greater Christchurch Spatial Plan and the Greater Christchurch Transport Plan. So again, we're focusing our programme on creating a high patronage network, prioritising frequent, reliable services, direct routes, linking key activity centres, growth areas with walkable catchments. And we've had an update since we created these slides. So on the 17th of February, essentially, New Zealand Infrastructure Committee published the National Infrastructure Plan. That sets a pathway for infrastructure in New Zealand over the next 30 years. And that includes 3 key public transport programmes and projects within Greater Christchurch. So the first is a PT Futures improvement business case, but that's been renamed to Bus Network Improvement Programme, just to make it kind of a little bit easier to know what that programme is. We've got the Mass Rapid Transit in there, and we've got Waimakariri Eastern Transport. These 3 projects have all been endorsed to stage 1, which essentially means a project has identified a priority, opportunity or problem that can lead into the development of the business case, so the next phase in an investment case process. Government's currently reviewing those recommendations in the plan and will provide a response in mid-2026. In terms of the structure of our PT Futures Improvement Programme, it remains the same in terms of what we agreed through the indicative investment case in 2020. The priority is focusing on the core routes. So they're your kind of high frequency. We're looking at creating those and making them turn up and go frequencies. So essentially that's 10-minute frequencies, meaning people no longer have to kind of pre-plan their journeys. They can just turn up knowing that the average wait time is around 5 minutes. Concurrently as well, we're looking at routes, essentially the gaps and opportunities outside of those core routes as well. So that's what we call the rest of network there. So that's looking at direct and connector services in response to growth and land use changes. All of this together essentially will drive significant patronage growth, that modal shift that we're seeking, and that all leads into building us towards implementing mass rapid transit. In terms of the improvement programme, we're looking at a stepped approach. So this is a standard approach, and we're taking learnings from from Auckland to look at actually how do we step these improvements to kind of drive that growth. And effectively, the work streams are being delivered concurrently. So we're looking at working on service and infrastructure improvements together to get kind of the most we can in terms of value for money, and running these programs simultaneously. So you'll see the work on the foundations, which is that core route, running alongside the work on the rest of network. And obviously, we're doing the work on the mass rapid transit as well. In terms of the work that we have in progress at the moment, Canterbury Regional Council is currently working on the investment case for 1 and 5 to increase the frequency to turn up and go. At the same time, we're working closely with Christchurch City Council, who are working on the investment case for bus priority for 1 and 5. So again, to align those kind of service and infrastructure improvements together. As you all know, we increased the frequency for Route 7 to turn up and go in April 2025. So we're just monitoring and reviewing how that's progressing at the moment, with the aim for putting that into the continuous programme for the next NLTP funding round. We've got the last phases of the Lincoln Road bus priority, which will be constructed in 2026. And then we've got the bus priority improvements on State Highway 75. In terms of the districts, we're reviewing the Route 84-85 Rolleston direct hybrid service and looking at kind of confirming the next steps in April. We're working closely with Selwyn to look at the next phases for Park and Ride in Selwyn, what that looks like aligned to service uplifts, and then coordinating the post-Wood End bypass opportunities. So working really, really closely together to try and take any opportunities we can to improve this space. In terms of services, a couple of things that we're working on at the moment. We're really trying to look to put our optimization program in place. So essentially, this is making better use of the resources that we already have. So that's just a work stream which is now business as planned. So essentially, that's just a work stream that will carry on, and we'll look at what changes we can make on the network to make improvements now. In terms of the other things that we're kind of doing to improve, We've got a full network review that we're looking at, and essentially that looks at the whole Greater Christchurch network, identifies gaps and opportunities, looking at land use changes, looking at areas of growth, looking at kind of future areas of growth, so that we can make sure that we can service the greatest number of people. That's going to include public consultation and engagement, and we're coordinating with partners and stakeholders to create this cohesive engagement program so we can use any opportunities to talk to our communities and get that feedback in. Once we've done the network service review, essentially that leads into the development of a 10-year improvement program for services. So again, it's really important that we hear back from our communities to make sure that we reflect that and advocate. That's probably everything there. So essentially what we're looking to do through this is really get that patronage growth uplifted. And then that leads us into the delivery of MRT, which leads us nicely.
What a great segue. Yeah, kia ora koutou. So this is the MRT part of the presentation, just giving an update on where that program of work is at. Building off the indicative business case and the identification of the route in the Greater Christchurch Spatial Plan, we're now into that protection stage. So looking to designate the route in its entirety within the Christchurch City Plan through an RMA process known as Notice of Requirement, which we are now at the stages of developing, and we'll be looking to City Council as the requiring authority designate the full extent from Belfast to the city and city to Hornby. Ultimately, what that means is identifying more specifically the extent of the designation and putting it in the plan, and whether or not that will exceed the current corridor or not. It may in parts definitely probably in around stations, and it may, in its extent, will probably go into private land. So the designation protects the route from development on that land, so it's not frustrated in the future and is maintained. So currently, this slide outlines the process to come. We're currently in that pre-lodgement stage. We're looking at a technical program of work around, as I say, identifying the designation extents, doing the assessment of effects. We'll do landowner engagement in this stage, and that prepares us for that notice of requirement, which we'll then seek to lodge in and around mid 27 or late 27. Once lodged, it's important to note that it does carry weight, so the route is protected at that point, even though the designation has not been completed or confirmed. Any works within that proposed designation area will require written approval from the requiring authority, being the city in this case. Post-lodgement, we'll move into that more traditional RMA process, so there will be submissions and responses to those, evidence preparation, as well as hearings with a recommendation back to the council to make a final decision on that notice of requirement and confirm the designation. It is also subject to appeals as well, though, so that is a potential risk. We are working in the RMA still and using that notice of requirement process, but you will be familiar with the RM reform bills, and the planning bill in particular outlines potential other avenues and changes of designations and notice of requirements. There's not much, but it could be included in the regional spatial plan and identified and bundled in to that process rather than being a separate process in itself. And also there's a change from assessing the alternatives rather to assessing the strategic need for the project, which could streamline the work. We're unsure exactly how that will play out within the regional spatial plan, what that actually means. We'll find out when we get more national direction, but it doesn't necessarily change the evidential nature, the technical work we have to do. So we have to keep doing that, and we'll be able to inform later on exactly what process will be the most beneficial. And so in terms of this pre-lodgement phase, we're currently in that tranche one of the technical work, looking to identify that and confirm the extent of the designation, leading into our assessment of effects as well. So this is all preparatory work for the notice of requirement, and will lead into probably mid to late 27 before we are ready for lodgement, all things going well. An important aspect to that is the property strategy. So as I mentioned earlier, the designation will go over private land. There will be a need to understand how and when we look to manage that, purchase property, and identify the costs for that as well. That will need to sit in long-term plans, so ready for purchases as and when required. That will have to happen at some point. And obviously there'll be quite a bit of engagement, target engagement with key stakeholders, also affected landowners in the wider community to give them a understanding of the process, what it means, and prepare that for the lodgement of the notice requirement, which in that process they will again be involved, or able to be involved as submitters. And so, lastly here, the technical work program for this project has commenced, and it's important to note, though, that we're building on quite a substantial amount of work already undertaken in the indicative business case. So it's a great starting point. We are looking to focus road running within the corridor you see on the screen there, and we're just looking at that technical work around the key elements within the corridor, what space might be more needed, as well as where the stations might be located, options around those, and ultimately the full extent to those who are ready for the lodgement of the notice requirement. Thank you.
Okay, we've got some key messaging for central government, essentially, some suggested messaging. So essentially, PT Futures is our approved programme to deliver public transport improvements within Greater Christchurch. We've all agreed to it, we've all signed up to it, all partners have agreed. So really what we're looking at is pushing forward to the next steps. And that does involve detailed business cases to prove a robust economic case. The programme will deliver significant and drive significant patronage growth. So that links exactly with what essentially we're trying to achieve nationally. So you'll see there supporting economic productivity and supporting the ongoing population growth in New Zealand's second largest city. All partners are committed to delivering the programme as a key priority. We've talked through some of the work that's happening at the moment. So essentially, we're all working on the next phases and the next steps, particularly leading up to the long-term plan and the National Land Transport Programme. So making sure that we have good, solid funded bids within that essentially are investable and that we can kind of display that we've got a good, strong economic case. We're working in close partnership. So we've talked a lot about the fact that we're looking to deliver services and infrastructure together. That's where we get the biggest bang for bus. Thank you. You can use that one. We'll see if that one lands. We have a record of successful delivery where funding has been approved. So essentially, Route 7 was one of the most significant and only significant improvements for PT within the last NLTP. We've delivered that. We're seeing significant patronage growth. We want to keep building on this. And we've seen as well, following COVID-19, our communities have really responded well. And essentially, some of the problems we're actually facing is that some of our routes now don't have enough capacity in peak. So we're really seeing people wanting to use PT, and we need to provide coverage, we need to provide the capacity so that it gets them where they need to go. We've embraced innovation. Canterbury's kind of always been renowned for innovation. So we've got the My Way in Timaru, we've got the Rolleston hybrid service that we're trialling at the moment, and then we're waiting on Te Kaha to open, which will be really, really exciting, and essentially, again, will uplift and drive, again, that demand for increased patronage. The growth driven by PT Futures really creates a pathway for the implementation of MRT. So essentially, it is a staged approach. We need to kind of see each step while we get the patronage growth across Greater Christchurch. And we're also looking at when is a good time to look at kind of our network in terms of when should we start mirroring the MRT route with buses, moving into kind of the MRT implementation. And really, we're seeking support through the draft GPS on land transport to fund delivery. So we've got all the work that's happening. We're going to have strong investment cases. What we really, really want to see is that we get support in investment through the GPS in land transport. And obviously then we can work a programme to make sure that we can make the most of that investment. In terms of next steps, we've already talked about, we're all working on the next level of investment cases. We want to hopefully secure funding through the NLTP and obviously that co-funding through the long-term plans. We're planning to come back to you with a kind of update in the June meeting, but that'll be more a programme update. And then we'll come back to you in September with another report. We've already talked through the National Infrastructure Plan, so we're waiting for the feedback to come through on that. And then we're going to have a GPS land transport announcement probably around April, May. So we'll kind of wait to see what that, and then we'll look at what our submissions will be. Happy to take any questions or comments and feedback.
Right, questions, clarification for staff. Dion.
Hey, thank you so much. I've got a couple. But the first one is I just want to say congratulations and thank you to the Christchurch City Council for the work you did on the MRT into the infrastructure draft. Well, it's not a draft anymore. It's the infrastructure plan. That's phenomenal for Greater Christchurch. So good work on that. But now we've got that. What's next? What's the next steps that we should be thinking about to turn that from being in the plan to actually maybe accelerating work or accelerating ways that we can collectively talk to the Crown or talk to the government and say, you know what, this has been recognised, so that it doesn't get lost, because the government doesn't have to listen to the plan, but we want them to listen to the plan. So what's the next steps for this room to be able to make that happen?
The next steps in that process really is getting those detailed investment cases. So at the moment, those projects are recognised at stage 1. So what we want to see is them recognised at approved essentially at stage 2 and 3. So we really need those investment cases to back up kind of the economic case. So that's the key step for us. The government's obviously going to respond to that plan and provide some feedback. And I think it's just that cohesive view of us talking about, we've got a plan, we've got PT Futures, we've got an improvement programme that we want to deliver, and we just need to see that funding as well so that we can kind of collectively keep pushing forward and delivering this as quick as we can. We know that we're behind in terms of where we wanted to be in 2020, and there's lots of reasons behind that, but now I think is the opportunity to really accelerate, and we know that we can do this.
So there's nothing that we need to do yet around this table, or is it just around getting the funding for those investment cases, and where does that funding come from?
I might just chip in here, if that's okay. I think one of the key messages that have come out of this morning's conversation that Sonia and Ben have been talking about is the government has an eye on a particular prize at a macro level for improving our urban form and growth, etc. And so what they are looking for is a consistent, joined-up voice, a consistent, aligned story, and a consistent demonstration of that alignment. So what they don't want to see is the partners being distracted by other things that don't take us closer to that main prize. So I think as a cohort in Greater Christchurch Partnership, that's probably the thing that we need to do next, is to advocate collectively with one voice.
Thanks for that. Can I ask another question? Really, really pleased to see the investment case going forward for routes 1 and 5. I'm really keen to see any opportunities that we can do to accelerate those. And I might ask this of either the NZTA rep or somebody, but what is it that we can do in this period of election season to go cap in hand with the Crown and say, we are ready. We need you to come on board with this, if there was any opportunities to do that. So I asked this a number of places, and I'll continue to ask this, because the more that we just need to, I want to see action, and I want to see us being a bit more dogmatic about the approach that we take. I just feel like we're sometimes a bit passive. We're ready. We've got it on our budgets potentially, so we want to see some more advocacy potentially. I don't know who can answer that. It's either end of the table over there.
I'll jump in and pretend I'm staff for a second. Answer as staff. No, a really good question. Look, the presentation today, which is superb in my view, is effectively about formal process steps, and it's right to do that. And the next formal step is what's the enabling position in the next GPS, and therefore what can we include in the next National Land Transport Program. And that's important. That is the process. And in terms of the GPS, that is about messaging from this sub-region to ministers, because the minister holds the pen on the government policy statement. We provide technical advice into it, but it's a ministerial document. Outside of that process and that time frame, which, let's be honest, is really starting now. We expect to see a draft version of the next GPS by mid-year. It is also important to recognise we are halfway through the existing 3-year funding cycle. That 3 years goes very fast. I don't really need to tell assembled members that, but we're rapidly approaching year 3. And the honest truth is opportunities arise in year 3. We program a National Land Transport program based on what we think at the start of that, what we think is fundable through that. It is cash flowed. Some things move faster, some things move slower. And where things move slower, that creates opportunity potentially if you're in line with government policy and you've got share to be able to move. So the short answer is stay in dialogue with us at a delivery level about what opportunities might arrive before the next 3-year cycle. But do the work as the presentation suggests to be best prepared for the start of that next 3-year cycle. That's the short answer.
Yeah, look, I don't want to keep banging the drum, but one of the great things that Greater Christchurch has to offer is, as Sonia mentioned, we've demonstrated success with Route 7 and various other route upgrades, and we're also at the front end of the program for national ticketing. So when you join those two things together, that's a very strong message for government, in our view, that we're investing a significant amount of public money in a new ticketing environment, and it's first coming here to Greater Christchurch. And if you want to leverage that investment, you need to grow the network at the same time to get the benefits, and we're ready to do that.
Yeah, no. I recognise what you're saying. So, I'll see the Minister this afternoon, and from a Canterbury Regional Council point of view, I'm going to be asking for what are the opportunities for that Route 15. But formally, I think this group, we've got mayors in this group, we've got councillors, deputy mayors, whatever. There should be something formal as well that we can do. So I just want to think about, I don't know if there's an answer to that, but there must be some ways that we can actually start, if we're ready to go with these investment cases in this. As you say, there are opportunities, and I don't want to lose those. So,
Sonia.
In terms of the service detailed business case, we'll have that completed by April this year. So we've separated that process out from the full development of the 10-year improvement programme, because we know that that's the first. All the evidence suggests that that's where we should be investing next. We know that we want to focus on those core routes. So this is kind of the obvious next step. So we'll have, for the services, we'll have the single stage business case completed by April. So that will kind of be ready to be submitted at that point. So should there be any funding opportunities, then we can take advantage of that. We're working really closely, obviously, as a partnership on the investment case. So again, a detailed investment case for the infrastructure, and we're pushing that as quick as we can through, again, so that we can take any opportunities we can.
Okay, right. Dan.
I also want to just commend you for the report. I think it's got a lot of really good information in there. And I think I really agree with what Dion's suggesting there, Chair Swiggs, in respect to us showing our ambition and advocating clearly with a single voice with respect to the ambition that we have for our area. And I think we should take the opportunity ourselves to have a delegation to meet with the Minister. We've raised it with the Minister in most meetings we've been to over the years, but now's the time when we've got this collective work together that we can show the spatial planning linkages and the work that we've done, all of us have done in our respective district plans to enable and give effect to government policy, whether we've wanted to or not. I just say that here, especially when it comes to 3-storied housing, but that's another matter. Sorry, I didn't hear that. But we've all given effect to it. So we've done the work that they would require us to do. So I think we can clearly demonstrate that with a good argument. I also want to commend Environment Canterbury for their investment in double-decker technology. That bus we went to see a couple of weeks, was it last week? It was an impressive bit of kit. I know that's been done in partnership and it's a trial, but you know, the BYD battery technology to using A380 to make it lighter weight is a really impressive story, and to go for a short ride in it. And I did say tongue-in-cheek, it'd be good to see if it could come to Rangiora. Thank you for giving effect to that, GS Wigs. I understand it is coming soon. But that plus the work, Phil, that you initiated last year with respect to the trackless trams and the discussions that were happening with those that have that technology, we're a prime ground for trialling something like that. And I know that you're very passionate in that area. I certainly am. I have the trackless tram sitting on my desk in my office because I really like what is proposed with that. And if we could get the government on board to help us fund that trial, something that we could offer here in Canterbury and or in Greater Christchurch, rather than other areas which aren't as advanced as us in that space. And the thing I really like about that technology is the fact that you could take it anywhere. Don't have to put in a whole lot of rail and interrupt the streets. You can shift it if it doesn't work easily. You can put magnets in the roads if you want it to become autonomous. I think it's really exciting technology. And the other partnership that I'm really keen on is the opportunities that come with mainland rail that are setting up. I know they've got some vacant carriages in my district sitting there, unfortunately. I have raised it with them because one or two have got a little bit of unique sign writing being put on the side, shall we say. But they've offered me to go up with them on Sunday to Waipara or to Glenmark for the Wine and Food Festival, which I'm going to take part in at the weekend. I'm really looking forward to seeing how that network works. Around being best dressed, I think we are in that space. One thing I would like to say is around future servicing. We have future servicing needs in our district. We've done Park and Ride, and that is working successfully, but there are future servicing for growth areas that we've identified, including Māori Reserve 873. So I don't want to see those limited in future work, and I know it's not necessarily, but they're the things that around that future servicing that we want to make sure is well connected. But a good report, and agree with Dion's suggestion, and I think through the function of the Secretariat working through our respective councils, let's see how we can get that discussion together with Minister Bishop before too long, because I think he would welcome that discussion given the work that we've done around housing.
Thank you. Any more questions for staff? Sophie, question or discussion? Okay, well, how about we release stuff? No, quite all right. I'm sure there was somewhere in there. So I'll put the motion, and then we can move to you, Sophie. I won't forget you. So the motion, the recommendation on page 16 of the agenda is that the Greater Christchurch Partnership Committee receives the update on the delivery of the Greater Christchurch Public Transport Improvement Program. Do I have a mover? Victoria, seconded. Jess Wiggs. Sorry. Sorry, discussion. Sophie.
Yeah, thank you. I guess this is, I don't want to distract from any of the comments that have been made because they're really good, and this is really great report, and I would really love to see this move forward and actually happen, because I'm in this weird position where I was here 2 terms ago on the committee and we're still talking about the same things as we were then. And they are still brilliant ideas, and that have fed into, 2 LTPs now? Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of co-funding that would have been lovely, but obviously the decision was made that we didn't kind of get that. So, yeah, definitely supporting speaking with a single voice and continuing to make it happen, but kind of also wondering, is there a plan B? Just because, so for instance, in Selwyn, we advocated for changes to our public transport rates for services that are kind of listed on here, but the Route 5 stuff that we've paid in towards, or that we thought we were and we advocated for, is now limited to Hornby and New Brighton. Now, I don't know whether that's why the moment of my career are in the same position, because the Route 5 does go beyond Belfast. That money is sitting there and is going to be going into general public transport reserves. And there's difficulties in actually ring fencing it for the communities that have provided some of that money. And the same with the 84-85, although that was an unexpected bind when commercial service comes in and suddenly goes, we're going to do something. And Deputy Mayor and I actually rode the bus in this morning. So, we do appreciate that work. But it's again with how do we make it work and ensure that if it does take more years again, and this is going to go across the whole area, how do we make sure that when we're paying into stuff, we know what we're getting out if the co-funding doesn't turn up for a while longer? And I know that's a rhetorical question, not a question to staff.
Thank you. Anyone else want to say? No? Oh, yeah, Phil.
I think I'll support this, of course. One of the things that I do like that I'm seeing, I understand that NZTA are going to liven up T2 and the bus lane on the Northern Corridor. I've got that bit right. What I'm not happy about is that the new State Highway 75, all the tens and tens of millions of dollars that the government has spent there, thank you very much, and we've got a 24/7 bus lane. And we should be having T2 there at peak times. I listened to Andrew Little the other day and actually gave him a ring because he's thinking along the same lines as I have. When it's busy at peak times, by all means have it as a dedicated bus lane, but not 24/7 out there. So that worries me. I've talked to a couple of NZTA people. I've talked to the minister. So I'm going to continue to advocate for that. So just letting you know, but I'll still support this, of course.
In light of the Mayor of Christchurch's point around T2, I wasn't aware there was any change proposed apart from a Member of Parliament that would like to see that, former Associate Minister of Transport indeed. Is there any plans to remove the T2 lane?
I wouldn't characterise our current position as having plans to remove the T2 lane, but we are looking at, as we naturally always said we would, when and how we enforce it, at what extent. That's the natural consequence of growth on that CNC corridor. But I don't have anything to announce today.
Is it permissible to speak, or is there someone else?
No, I've only got you, Dan.
Just very briefly to say that the lobbying that came about on the T2 from a local MP certainly had no tie-in with our council. We're well aware of the commitments that were made at the time, and in fact I popped into the city to support that. It was decided by the previous council before I came in as mayor. I was part of that council, but we did, with Mayor Leanne at the time, did have around the Cranford accommodations that were there. The T2 was definitely part of that. So I just want to assure you, Phil, that we haven't made any view on that, and are well aware of the commitments we've made. I appreciate things will change and can change over time, but the enforcement aspect of T2, I think, has been, in my opinion, James, the missed opportunity. It should have been really enforced from day one. I do see, look, I use that and we all use it. It's not widely utilised at the moment, and in fact, my fiance regularly says to me, because I go into, so I'm coming via Kaiapoi and going, she said, why aren't you using the T2 lane? And I said, well, because I just don't. She said, there's two of us in the car, Dan. You can use it. And I said, oh, yes, of course. We're just not conditioned to that thinking, right? And that's the bit that we need to emphasise. If we're going to use it, make sure it's the education comes in and those things, because there was significant investment and good reason for why it was put there in the first place.
Right, any more discussion on the motion? No, thank you, Ron. Right, all those in favour say aye. Against? Carried. Thank you, Ron. Right, item 6, Secretariat 6 monthly reporting update. John, page 43 of your agendas.
Through you, Chair, I'll take the item as read, but probably just highlight a few key points in respect to it. The purpose of this report is to update you all in terms of what the partnership has delivered over the past 6 months, touch on how national reform is impacting partners, how we as partners, as a partnership, are tracking with the implementation of the Greater Christchurch Spatial Plan, budget position and progress within our priority areas. The operating context is shifting. I don't need to tell you all that. You're experiencing that day to day in your roles, but that is affecting all partners, whether it's through government reforms and grappling with that, or machinery of government changes to Crown partners. These are real things happening and to be considered. The senior officials group has devised some guiding principles, and these are intended to help keep our delivery on track within this moving or changing operating context. It's touched on, those principles are touched in the report, but as a high level, they are partnership mindset, thinking as a partnership, as well as bringing our own respective organisational views and needs, prioritisation, value for money, exercising adaptive leadership given the uncertainty, and looking to make evidence-based decisions. They are relatively obvious, but I think in this kind of uncertain conditions, it's really, important to kind of have that clear front of mind. Budget, financially, we're tracking year to date roughly ahead of schedule in terms of where we anticipate our our overall expenditure for the partnership and through the Secretariat. We've only used effectively just under half, and that kind of reflects the work that we're at the moment. And the phase 2 of the Joint Housing Action Plan has been completed within its existing allocation. Implementation plan. So the spatial plan is our 30-year vision for the Greater Christchurch area across housing, transport, as we've touched on and discussed, environment and the economy. We update this implementation plan annually and monitor trends to understand effectiveness. A few of the highlights, I think we've already touched on some of them from a public transport perspective, but include completing the housing investigations as part of phase 2 of the Joint Housing Action Plan. Those public transport improvements, including Route 7, kind of being delivered and that uplift that comes with that. Rollaston direct access trial that we touched on as well as the work around 1 and 5. PT Futures and MRT recognised nationally, again touched on, but these are significant achievements. And the Kanganahanga strategy as well being received by the committee last year and to inform future implementation considerations. The Priority Areas Program, you have been presented, and that is attachments in particular, an overview of the progress made to date over the past 6 months around our priority areas. These are listed on page 60 of the agenda. There's a number of achievements there as well. I'll leave you to have a look at them, peruse at your leisure. There are a host of those in addition to the ones that I've just listed across the last 6 months in the implementation plan. And last but not least, just to highlight the partnership work soon to commence with Christchurch City Council and Waka Kotahi in terms of the early integrated engagement around the Hornby Local Area Planning and SH1 Hornby Access and Development Strategic Transport Plan. I'm trying to say that, there's a lot of words in there, but it's important. It's done in collaboration, and it's looking at, in terms of, in many ways, trying to integrate land use as much as possible with transport considerations. And that work is soon to commence with partners and no doubt with the community as well. The intent, at least at this stage, subject to other items, is in terms of in September with the annual implementation plan report and review, as well as the next 6 monthly update on priority areas. I'll stop there. Pass back to you, Chair.
Thank you, John. Any questions for John? No. Wonderful. Okay, right. I'm not going to read it out. The motion is in front of you on the screen. There's a lot of words there. Do I have a mover or a seconder? Nettles, Councillor Lamont, and Mayor Gordon. Thank you. Okay, discussion. Well, I just want to say that I'm really pleased that the NZTA is about to start the Hornby work with Christchurch City Council. It's a really great project and will be transformative for that area, and is a necessary first step before MRT eventually ends up in Hornby. So it's really, really important work. Thank you. Right, in that case, all those in favour say aye. Those against? Carried. Item 7, implementing the Greater Christchurch Partnership Review. Page 61 of your agenda. John, I think this falls to you to introduce.
Yes, through you, Chair. I'll speak briefly. Today I'm presenting the Chief Executive Advisory Group's recommendations for how we implement the independent review of the partnership. CEAG are seeking the committee's endorsement of a pragmatic approach to implementing the review, reflective of the changing operating environment for the partnership and its member organisations. Since the review began, the reform landscape, as I just touched on the earlier item, and the operating context for the partnership has significantly shifted. This creates uncertainty for all partners, and that uncertainty is expected to continue through to at least beyond 2026, but really and realistically beyond that. Given the level of change, the Chief Executive Advisory Group recommends that the major structural decisions wait until the reform picture is clearer. And I think the key thing there is that the Greater Christchurch Spatial Plan remains the strategic anchor for the work of the partnership, with strong public support, unanimous adoption by all council partners. Has given that 30-year blueprint or vision, as I touched on, for building well-functioning communities, and our current priorities stay firmly aligned to this. I can go at probably in more detail in respect to that, but I think from there, I think it's probably best to pass to you, Chair.
Any questions for John? No. Excellent. I think we have a motion from the floor. So, Lydia, do you want to just...
Thank you, Chair. I have pre-circulated a motion up here to replace the proposed set that are in the report. Chair, do you want me to speak to the motion now, or you want to seek a seconder first?
I just want to check with Dion. Oh, sorry. Dion had a question. So can we just we'll just jump around, we'll pause, Dion, we'll come back to you.
I was just, in terms of the report that was commissioned, and I apologise, I'm looking at two things at once here because I'm trying to understand the work program and the recommendations from the report. So it's a bit of a mixed match, and so I can't find it. So when I ask the question in regards to the work program of GCP, what did the report that was commissioned have to say about the continuation of those programs?
Through you, Chair, I think just to clarify there, when you refer to the report, do you mean in terms of the report here within the agenda? Or the
Martin Jenkins report, yeah.
Through you, Chair, it didn't explicitly go through every single work program priority, but it did flag that there were a number of core functions of the partnership embedded within the memorandum of agreement, and it basically reverted back to that and said one of those was spatial planning, as well as ones around, I think, the opportunity then to take forward other strategic and collaborative issues. But in the report itself, in the agenda pack, we outline what the existing priorities and work streams are there as well.
Sorry, Lydia, back to you.
Correct. So I just wanted to check with you, Chair, on process.
Yeah, I know. We're a bit freestyling. So, look, we've got you as a mover. We need a seconder for the motion from the floor. Is anyone willing to second it? Oh, Mayor Gordon. Oh, that's the Selwyn District Council. No, yep. Mayor Gordon. Thank you. Right. Okay. So, discussion on the questions and debate.
It becomes the substantive.
Yeah, we don't need to move.
It's the substantive motion.
Substantive motion.
Because what is proposed was a staff recommendation, which we do not have to accept.
Correct.
We can propose a substantive motion.
Yep. So this is the motion now before us. If we can potentially just move the voting box so that we can see it. Dave, sorry. There you go. So questions and discussion on the motion. Lydia.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry, Gail.
Can I have the motion read out? Sorry, I've had trouble getting my papers up, and so I'm not sure.
I'm happy to read it out. How about that?
Thank you.
Okay, so that the Greater Christchurch Partnership Committee 1 endorses that the organisational transitional plan is prepared by the Chief Executive Advisory Group. 2, notes that the transitional plan should include A, requirements and details for any constitutional or memorandum of agreement change, B, investigate the merits of incorporating the other Canterbury councils into the new organisational model, C, how partnership with mana whenua will be enshrined in the new organisational model, D, identification of which Crown agencies should be involved in the future organisational model, E, a report on the available resources, staff, time and financial, to support the development of the regional spatial plan, F, how governance and delivery of key metropolitan programs, including the Greater Christchurch Spatial Plan, mass rapid transit and public transport initiatives, will be maintained and strengthened within the future organisational model. 3, requests that the transitional plan be reported back to the GCP committee at the next meeting. 4, notes the time-critical nature of the development of the regional spatial plan. 5, agrees that the current GCP work program be paused. Did you memorise all of that? Thanks, Gail.
I have it. Thank you. So are we waiting for our second mover before we can discuss?
We're happy to discuss. No, we've got a mover and a seconder. So if you've got the question,
okay. So I just need to make this comment. We've seen through our papers there are a number of mentions of the what I call the degradation of the voice of mana whenua right across the board with the reforms that we're looking at. And that's regarding, from our perspective, from mana whenua perspective, it's right across from governance through senior management, organisational, etc. So we are very nervous about any changes that, and while we might have there, that we're making sure that mana whenua have a voice.
Yes.
Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of faith that that will actually take place on the ground. So from mana whenua perspective, I just want to take this opportunity to remind us about this wonderful piece of work that was done. I want to remind everybody that there was significant amounts of consultation that before we got to even a hearing on this, and when we had the hearings on it, it was quite frankly spectacular, the range of voices, ages, everything. And so I want to remind everybody that in here is the voice of the people, our communities. Please don't let it get dumbed down in any further things. And I say this now because as mana whenua, we have very real concerns that our voice will not go far. For people like me who are pre-settlement, that's okay because I grew up on the pa, watched my grandparents and my parents and everything fight with no money and nobody willing to listen. We're okay, we can do that. We have a couple of generations now, who include my children, who don't know what that feels like. But they will learn. So, I'm just saying, while it's wonderful, let's pause this. We've got concerns. When will it be unpaused? I see dates in here, end of June next year, that we might be coming back and looking. I just want to say to this group, please, we want our voice there. We will fight to get our voice there, but it will be people around this table that will be making decisions, again, about us, not with us. And so, while I'm not going to go against this recommendation, I have concerns. Mana whenua have concerns, very grave ones. And we have, as I say, we have reason to have those concerns. So that's the comment that I want to make here. It's do remember, you already know what your people want, and it's pretty clear. And we were really proud of the involvement that mana whenua had in this and the input that's in here about us and our wanting to actually have a voice in what happens for us. And so I will just leave it there. That's our concern. When is when will Greater Christchurch come back? Because we think it's fantastic. And please remember the past. Kia ora.
Thank you, Gail. Look, I'm sorry, I should have given Lever a second opportunity. So, Lydia, do you want to?
And I would like to use my right of reply at the end too. Thank you, Chair. Look, I think with this, it's actually, in my mind, this isn't actually, we're not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. I think that we have an opportunity here to look broader than who we are in this room, although this is really important. I note the work program that is coming in front of us, and Gail will touch on the mana whenua, and I acknowledge nothing about us without us. And this is, I think, the stars are starting to align, and, you know, the conversations we have, and this might be a little bit out of scope, but please entertain me, the Mayoral Forum and having our conversations with our partners Ngāi Tahu and making sure that our important mana whenua are at the table with us. Our partner councils through our submissions to central government are talking about how do we enshrine mana whenua into these conversations. This is so important because this isn't actually just a short outcome. This is the longevity of the work that we are going to do through regional spatial planning. And, you know, you are in our minds, and we are advocating for you to be at the table because that is important. I think the key here with what I'm actually proposing is that with F, to not lose the great work that we have done here, and the work that we've done here has taken a very long time and had so many people to put their thoughts into it that it is precious to us. We talked earlier in the day about lobbying central government for MRT. Our spatial plan work is a key piece of work that we can take to this broader regional spatial plan as well. And without that, I don't think we would be as successful as I think we are going to be in that space. The metro function is really important, and that is why it is wrapped up into F, because we can't lose that. But what I am asking is that we allow our Chief Executive Advisory Group to come back to us with what some options look like to really enable broader discussions around the regional spatial plan. So from Selwyn's perspective, the key priority for us is ensuring the regional spatial plan progresses, and that is going to be a huge body of work for us at this table and for our staff. And I'm finding that a lot of our staff and us are doubling up on conversations that I feel like actually should be held all together. And wary of our resources, we need to maintain the momentum on the metro transport improvements, and I think that we should be lobbying ministers on that, because that also supports that broader conversation of our region's growth while being efficient with our resources. And I think about the planning system reforms and the spatial planning work, and I think about what governance structure will best support that collaboration. And that is what effectively this is doing, is asking to come back with some options, but actually stopping the things that our staff are having to double up on all the time. I think I'll leave it there and allow everyone else, and I'll go for right of reply.
Yeah, Dan.
Thank you. And firstly, can I just commend Mayor Lydia for bringing together a discussion that is difficult. I want to acknowledge that to start with, but a necessary conversation based on the back of the review that we did commission, but also in the face of immense change going on in our sector, and what is the best model for us to be in. So we're not concluding what that might look like today. We're asking our Chief Executive Advisory Group to go away and do some work, and here are some of the things that we think should be enshrined in there and should be thought about. And Gail, to your point, thank you for raising what you raised. I want to make it very clear, whatever our future position might be, mana whenua's presence is absolutely critical to me and to our council. In fact, after Tanya's feedback here at the last meeting, I went straight, I phoned Chair Nigel Bowen of the Mayoral Forum straight away and said, we really need to make sure that mana whenua are included at our Canterbury Mayoral Forum level, because there's a lot of discussion going on there around the CTBs and what all that means and getting a combined opinion. So Nigel did pick up on that, and we had a special meeting which Ngāi Tahu invited us to at the headquarters about a month or so ago. And I have to say it was one of the best meetings I think I've been to in my time as an elected member, and that we were actually genuinely having a conversation about how we can work together in partnership. It wasn't concluding that there was no conclusions there apart from the fact that the seat at the table is there for mana whenua. We weren't prescribing who that might be, that we were leaving that to Ngāi Tahu to determine. And so we had a dinner just before our mayoral forum, and both Tanya and Justin were present at that. So we want to further that and keep that discussion going. And we just had a hui on Tuesday at Ngāi Tūhereri, the first we've had in a number of years, and it was an excellent evening and one that I'm really proud of, that we've been able to re-establish. We've always maintained a strong relationship, but having that re-establishment has been something really important to us to see. And Tuesday night was an excellent night. We had very robust feedback, as you can imagine, but we will get, and I'm open to that. It's just like any family, have a strong discussion, but we always end up mates. So, and we will always be mates. So I think we support this direction. And I think there is broad alignment that we have this conversation. It's also, as Mayor Lydia was saying, is making sure that our staff are clear of the work streams where they're going to. We have limited resource. We really do. We're under pressure with government for rates capping and a whole range of things. We can't be seen to be engaging any more staff at the present time with all the pressures that we're all collectively under. So actually, what's the best use of that resource that we've presently got, and where are they best directed? That's what this is calling for, is to look at it and to also look on the prioritisation of the spatial planning work. That is becoming absolutely imperative, and we're seeing, and Chair Dion has said it in a number of forums I've been in, around that work that we've got to do with RM reform coming down at us. We've had in the past where we've had ministers confused as to which level they're engaging with. Mayoral Forum, Greater Christchurch, we have a lot of different forums that they come and talk to us in. So rationalising that, and that's what's part of this, so that there is the best fit for us as we're going forward into this reform space, I think is really important. But also maximising the resource that we've got and directing it in the right area. But I just come back to my point earlier, Gail, I want to reinforce to you that we will never support anything that waters down the influence of mana whenua. It's absolutely critical. I am, I think, the only that was here at the start of the UDS. It's aging me somewhat. I've been elected member 22 years, so I know what we've been through over those years and just how important that collective work has been. But I'm not fixed on what it is we're structured as long as we've got a good vehicle in which to work together in. So that's the space we come from. And again, thanks, Lydia, for bringing this to us today.
Cheers, Swigs.
Yeah, so I've got questions. If I don't know who to direct them to, so and it's around the work program. It's actually more in point 5 here agrees that the current Greater Christchurch Partnership work program be paused. So does that mean the in-progress stuff that you had in your previous report would all stop? That's the action to finding reports for the housing, the Route 7 in progress, Route 7 Queen's Park services, there's a whole lot of stuff here in your work program that's in progress. I'm not going to read them all out because there's quite a lot. But does that mean that just stops? And then if that stops, does that mean that we stop work on the work that we're doing for like Route 1 and 5 uplift investments. I'm just wondering what's actually stopped, and then who picks up the slack, because I'm wanting the gas to be put down, not to be stopped.
Let's go to Lydia from intent, and then we might just get John's view on.
Yeah, cool. Look, I think point F in there is enshrining all the stuff that we're wanting to put the pedal down on.
I get what you're saying, but in the resolution, you're saying the current Greater Christchurch Partnership stuff stops. That means it stops today until something else comes into the future and whatnot. So I'm just wanting to know what we're stopping, agreeing to stop today.
Look, in my view, it's the housing. We've got other priorities. Yeah.
And I think the intent of the next item, which I will address in a minute if this passes, because of exactly what we're talking about now, so I think we'll withdraw it, it is that we're at a natural pausing point there anyway. If it's an issue for clarity, you could amend 5 to reference 2F in terms of deliberately carving that out from the pause, if that's, but I
I am just very nervous passing a resolution that says agree current Greater Christchurch Partnership work program to be paused, because I don't know what's to be paused. I understand, because I'm probably in agreement with you there, but there is a whole lot of other stuff, and it's got a lot there. If that pauses, then who picks up that stuff and who then puts the gas down to what I was talking about before? I'm just being cautious. The more that I thought about it, because I only saw it earlier, then I was like, oh, shivers, I actually don't know what's in there.
John, if you just run through the existing work plan so we're really clear, then we might look at
Through you, Chair, in no particular order, I'm going to run through as dot points around what those existing work streams are. First is monitoring and reporting in respect to the Greater Christchurch Spatial Plan implementation, which aligns to the National Policy Statement on Urban Development reporting requirements, the Joint Housing Action Plan, which we've touched on, the Kainga Strategy implementation, the Priority Areas Program, and the Greater Christchurch Public Transport Improvements Program, made up of PT Futures, Mass Rapid Transit, and connected to the Greater Christchurch Transport Plan. Those are the existing work streams of the partnership. Yeah.
Sorry, Dion.
Devil's advocate here. So if we do agree to number 5, does that mean that would send a direction to my staff and our council to pull that $1 million from the MRT thingy because we're stopping that work program? These are the unintended consequences that I would like not to see. So if we can find a better way to have that not be the case, I would be more comfortable, because I do not want to see some of this stuff stopped.
Try again.
I'm in agreement with you. This isn't about stopping the things that we want to put our foot down on. And I've just talked to the chair, and if point 5 agrees that other Greater Christchurch Partnership work programs be paused.
Well, do we need to take that further and specifically state the 2 housing work streams that John has referenced in number 5 for the avoidance of doubt? So agrees that the other Greater Partnership programs, insofar as they relate to housing, or you listed the 2 of them. I didn't write the names of it down quickly, but that may be the way to do it for the point of clarity, and you specify those 2 programs that you referenced in relation to homelessness, and I can't recall what they were.
So how about this? Look, I think we're all actually in agreement of intent. Can you give us a 2-minute adjournment while we actually wordsmith it, and we'll come back and go from there? Because I don't think we're actually arguing with this. Let's just get the wording right.
Yeah.
All right, we'll take a 2-minute pause.